Well, hey guys, Jonathan Doyle with you once again. Welcome, friends, to the Daily Message. Always good to have you here. We got a good one today. I hope you've been listening to recent episodes. I've been enjoying them. There's been some gold in there. For now, please make sure you've subscribed. Hit that subscribe button just below here. And there's a bunch of show notes here in the description for you to check out. You can get a free copy of my book, Bridging the Gap. It's down under here. What else? You can book me to speak. If you want to book me to come and speak live at a conference or event, you can find out that good stuff under here. And of course, there's always the podcast version under here. If you're a podcast person, go and check that out. But hit the subscribe button for me. Hit the notification bell. Let's jump in. Today, we are talking about persistence. I want to share with you a really cool quote from the American author Tobias Wolf, who's going to talk about something central to all our lives. You ready? Let's do it. We are made to persist. That's how we find out who we are. Okay, regular listeners know that I am big on constructive critiques of our current cultural moment. I think we live in a culture that's geared around consumption and distraction. So as much distraction as possible to keep us consuming as much as possible and really thinking about the deep questions of life. I think if more of us were thinking more often about the deep reasons for existence, the ways that we can bring light and goodness into the world. Remember yesterday I said Aristotle's famous quote that the unexamined life is not worth living. So we need to examine our lives, and one of the things that is, first, I guess why? All right, let's answer that question. Why do we need to examine our lives? Because I don't think we're designed to just drift. I think we're designed to actualize our potential in the service of something bigger than ourselves. That's my kind of take on the meaning of life, to actualize our potential in the service of something bigger than ourselves, which runs pretty, against the current, cultural momentum. Current cultural momentum is all about self-realization, maximizing personal happiness and pleasure. There's a place for that. Pleasure can be a very good thing. Happiness experiences can be a very positive thing. They're part of the rich tapestry of life. But when we maximize them, when we basically make them the point of our existence, then we run into trouble. So today's message is reminding us about one of the key components of building a rich, meaningful life. And this is the issue of persistence. According to Tobias Wolf, it's in the act of persistence that we actually discover who we are. We learn about ourselves through the things that we're prepared to stick at. If we keep quitting things or not giving 100% to things over a long period of time, it shapes our character. All our actions, our thought processes, our behaviors in the world eventually shape our character. Remember, we've talked about this a lot. Actions shape character. How? If you think about stealing, then you are a person who is thinking about stealing. If you begin to actually steal, you become a thief. So you can see the movement from thinking about something to doing it changes an aspect of our identity. So now you apply that to the logic of if you act virtuously, if you consistently try to act well, then you become what you do. So there's a strong relationship between the way that we live in the world and how that shapes our character over time. So the choice of persistence rather than quitting will obviously, if my logic holds, will shape who we become. We become a persistent person. We become somebody who faces the difficulties and the hard things of life and presses on even when they are difficult. And in doing that, I think we get a certain kind of peace. We get a certain kind of self-respect. So the question becomes, do we persist at everything? The minute we put our hand to something, do we just stay with it indefinitely? Of course we don't. So what are the criteria? For me, you can put things aside. I don't like using that word quit. You can put things aside if they are causing significant harm to yourself or others. What do I mean by significant harm? Significant psychological problems, depression, anxiety, I guess, would be one. Physical harm, damage to relationships, anything that causes significant harm. Now, there's some nuance here because for me, as somebody who runs ultramarathons, there's a lot of pain involved. And you could argue that's a kind of harm. But there's always recovery, and you do it and your body recovers and the benefits outweigh the short-term pain. So the choice of whether to persist or not to persist is this. Will persisting cause harm? Or, in contrast, will your persistence bring something good into the world? Will it bring more growth, more blessing to people, more joy, more light, more goodness over time? So you might be like a teacher, and you might be, it can be very difficult sometimes. You can be dealing with all sorts of challenges and issues. But will your persistence in seeking the good for your students over time bring a benefit and a positive outcome in the world? And the answer is yes. Now, it doesn't mean you stay somewhere that's really toxic, but it means that the general, what we call the vector of aspiration, the general trajectory of your life is a trajectory of sticking with challenging seasons and difficult things because they bring a significant benefit to the world and to your own sense of self. So you could apply that to politics, to medicine, to any career really. There'll be moments when it's difficult, when it's hard. In the podcast version below here, I share a story of 31 years ago. Can you believe that? I was in high school trying out for an elite sporting team, and I gave it everything. My whole identity got sort of merged into trying to make this one team. I didn't make it. I was robbed. I didn't make it because I wasn't good enough. The other people in the team were better. And I've totally come to peace with that. There's genetics involved. There's all sorts of stuff, right? Like I can be as persistent and motivated as I want, but I'm not playing in the NBA, right? I'm not going head to head with Kobe, Bryant or any of those guys from the best players in history. It's never going to happen. So I thought for many years when I didn't make that team that I had failed. But it took me a long time to figure out, and I wrote about it here in the notes in the podcast version, that what I actually learned was persistence. And the hard work that came with trying shaped my character. So sometimes the act of persistence only really brings its blessings into our lives later. So when we are persisting at things, it's often not easy. And we don't immediately get sunshine and rainbows. And again, for me running ultra marathons, when you're sort of 30, 40, 50 Ks in, and I'm not built to run, right? There's a lot of pain. It's significant. It's just about what I call relentless forward momentum, just constantly moving forward. So in the moment, the persistence doesn't feel very pleasant. It doesn't feel very good at all. But when you finish, you're basically like, oh my gosh, I'm a genius. That's the greatest thing I've ever done. Because you look at the result. So in the moment, it seems difficult, but then the blessing comes later. All right? So I'm offering this to you guys today because some of you will be facing difficult seasons. Maybe it's in a marriage, it's parenting, maybe it's career, where you're finding it very difficult. So let me give you that criteria. Don't quit too early because your persistence can have a significant benefit down the line, not only in how it shapes your character, but in how it blesses other people. So let's not continue to be a culture of quitters, a culture of pleasure seekers. Let's be a culture of people that do hard things because there's a certain nobility and magnificence in hard things. Later today, I'm doing these heavy rucks. I've got like a pack and I'm doing 30 kilos, which I guess is about 75 pounds or something maybe. Heavy rucks up really steep mountains. And it just hurts. And every time I do it, I'm like, why am I doing this? Well, this hurts. But the physical impact on your body is really good. It's a great form of exercise. And at the end of it, you feel really good. You feel like you've pushed your body, you've strengthened your body. So again, you can just see this logic playing out in all different areas of life, whether it's exercise, relationships, career, that the benefit comes later. So thank you, Tobias Wolf, for this insight that it's in persisting that we discover who we are. And I think we are more magnificent sometimes than we think. We have all this capacity inside us that can really be a blessing to the world. So persist, my friends, if it's the right thing. You have my blessing, my encouragement to persist. Let me be a voice of encouragement for you today. All right, that's it. Please make sure you've subscribed. Hit the subscribe buttons. Go and check out all these show notes. Book me to speak. I'd love you to share this with people. My name's Jonathan Doyle. I'm going to have another message for you tomorrow.